Right. Mm. Yes, yes, yes.
That's all I'm watching. I'm trying to let them go with it. Show us this.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to put it on the live, but it's different. Let me see something. Video cast ain't gonna show though. Shucks.
You trying to show it the proper way too.
That sucks. Videos, news, history. Um, hold on. Let me go here. Like, continue. Shift these links. Hey, pull up your phone and go to YouTube and see if it shows something like live or whatever. Hold on, just do it like this. You know, I'm gonna do it like this.
Why you text him? They really think that now. No. Because he always
It's been live for 5 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What y'all trying to watch? Oh, Deliverance. What movie is that? Seems like I heard about that. Y'all got Type C charging?
It's supposed to be about what? What's it about?
Huh? You got a Type C charger? Yeah, you got Android, don't you?
Let me see.
You got Android. What is that? Spaghetti and meatballs. Mike, you cook the most, or Kasha cook the most? Yeah, like really, bro.
That the movie? This the one they somebody do some video on somebody or something? They said some scene with somebody. Like, they waiting on you. You say I'm on. That's true. That's true.
So what's up, guys? There you guys see me in the video right there. A supervisor at this recycling place here, recycling company. Very great company. A lot of manual labor, a lot of intense labor, a lot of work to do. The pay for this particular job is competitive for supervisors, but for some entry-level employees, it is slightly above minimum wage, but and it's much intense labor. And what you see going on is the process of buying recycled, or should I say, metals, alloys, or materials. And what happens here? They can bring in customers. Will bring in a lot of the customers could be customers who have pretty much everyone has their own business, whether it's a licensed business or it's just they work for themselves. Hard workers. It's a lot of intense work for them. It's a lot of I would call it like uh, hang labor. Get that out of there. Some of this stuff I can enlarge so you guys can see a little better. You know, there you see me. What I'm doing right now, but I want to go back to what kind of labor the guys do. The guys and women, people of all sorts. Companies, single man or woman operation, uh, people of all over. And what I mean by it's a lot of difficult labor because some some metals, some coated or insulated wires, or some parts such as auto parts or motors and casts and things like that. A lot of things, and I'll move that out the way. There's an item you can see right there. I inspected for that guy. I put back up for you guys and show you. I'm inspecting it for him. So I'll back up and kind of show you guys a little bit of that process. We're at 10:36. So I want to back up just a little bit. Uh, okay. So what I'm going to be doing is this customer is bringing in it's basically copper. I will grind that copper down to check it. I will put a magnet to it to see if it tracks to the magnet. What you see me doing right there, I'm scanning it to see if it is completely copper or if it has an installation or a thermal inside of it or if it's copper clad. And so we have to be prior to purchasing, metals and alloys and these things from these customers. I'm gonna turn that volume down so you guys can see here because I don't know how well you can actually hear me with all that grinding. I apologize, but what you see me doing there is I am actually inspecting his materials prior to us purchasing them. I'm checking the weight to make sure the weight is exact. Everything must weigh at least 2 pounds to be able to be accepted to get the going price for that particular metal. And what we look like we had right there was probably some number two copper or either some aluminum or something like that. And it probably wasn't number two copper that size. It was probably some type of aluminum or something, or maybe it was who knows what it was. Sometimes you can see me weighing it, putting it back down to see if it weighs 2 pounds, or sometimes making sure that the person who is actually putting the numbers into the system has his weight before I take it away. So those pieces there, as you can see me looking at, I'm thoroughly investigating them, I'm inspecting them for quality, for accuracy, to make sure that that product is completely what it should be. You don't want to buy copper and turn around that it's copper with a something in the middle of the sheets, something like that. So I'm gonna buy what's all completely copper, and then the rest I told them we'll buy it as a copper breakage, which is a much lower rate, a much lower cost for copper, and they lose a lot of money because copper could be going from anywhere. Number two copper could be selling for $3 and maybe 78 cents, 76 cents, 63.66, depending on what that day the price was for that day. And he could get that per 2 pounds is what we sell it as. Uh, and so if it's not all the way copper, he will get a copper with a contaminant, and he gets a much lower price. And it can go down as far as copper breakage could be something like 41 cents. So there you see me right there. I'm going to look at the phone and see if it's still recording, things like that. Um, and what I mean by this job is being labor intense because that means each and every piece of property that those customers set, and I'll bring that down some so you guys, I want to actually make sure you guys can see what they're bringing in. So each piece of material or property or metal that the customers bring in, um, what they load, unload, we have to receive from them. We have to stage it, put it where it properly goes in its correct bin or hoppers or units or tubs or whatever uh, way we store them. And that's important too because that can make the job even more difficult, which repeatedly it has, because so many of the employees that work in the area that you see me working in are maybe unfamiliar with exactly where the items go. And as a result, when it comes time for us to further process them, such as baling them and things like that, now we're having to sort further and weed out or clean out the items that don't go in those certain bins. So that could be a problem. Here's another customer bringing in what looks like to be some EC wire, which is basically aluminum wire that has a coating on it, some type of rubber coat or some type of installation. in that's going around the aluminum, clean aluminum. So that means it has no metals as far as it has no iron in it, you know, or magnetic uh, metals in it. It's all aluminum, which is not magnetized or magnetic. So I can go out a little bit. I can't go any further out.
Well, that gonna be a pretty good movie.
So in those particular guys, they bring quite a bit all the ways in. So something like that is pretty. It's an easy purchase for us. It's easy to purchase, but it's not easy to place it in its proper place. So we'll have to go in there and, like I said, those guys unloaded it from their trucks or their the bed of their trucks, things like that. But as you see me or anybody else, we have to receive those and we have to go unload those. So this is customer after customer, cart after cart, purchase after purchase, material after material. And some carts are going to have multiple types of materials. Some customers are going to have multiple carts. And as a result, in this recycling plant, this recycling place, facility, company, uh, uh, me or people working in that particular station there, which is the scale buying area where we receive the merchandise, and then we store it in its proper place with the other metals that are exactly the same. Keep them all separated because there's different grades, different types of copper, different types of brass, different types of aluminum, different types of stainless steel, different types of steel, different types of wires, such as household wires, different gauges, sizes. So there's just a wealth of all sorts of types of products and metals and wired, things that people are bringing in. So here we have another customer here that's bringing in. He looks like he's bringing in.
Who was that? Misha Steve.
It looks like
Last name Misha
it's
Steve.
hard to discern. Maybe I'll get a better picture of that go to um, when I go to grab it out of there. So the first thing that the the, the clerk or the cashier, that guy there you can see there, the first thing he's going to do is he's going to go and receive an ID. They're regulated items, they're regulated items by the state that have to have an ID for us to purchase them, because we have to verify who brought them in and what they're bringing in. And so he's going to verify what they have. He's going to get their ID. He's going to put their name in the system, type it in manually, and sometimes each person's ID, if they're repeat customers, they will have a number associated with their name, which is in our system to be able to help processing them much faster rather than manually typing in that person's name and verifying it. We still have to verify it, even though you have the number. You can put in the wrong number and someone else's name comes up. So you want to verify that name, with make sure their identification, their driver's license or whatever is up to date and not out of date. So, so that's the first thing he'll do is he'll get that information, and there you see me. We take all those carts back out. And you can see my shirt is pretty much ruined. The when you're grabbing wires, I'm talking about the wires could be anything from wires used in plumbing, uh, tubes, pipes. There you see right there a lot of wire. It's been stripped of its coating, so they can get much more money for that. Uh, as you can see right there, I'm looking at it. I'm checking with a magnet because sometimes we can get this item that looks like it's copper come in, and you're giving an example right here. See that items he's got that's sticking to the magnet? So that's the first thing. So it's not copper. So what that is some sort of iron that's been dipped or coated with copper. And customers try to bring these items as if they're real copper, and they're not real copper. They're fake. It's fake. And so a lot of times, if we don't check this, which when I'm at the purchasing area, the receiving area for customers, I always check that, because you don't want to purchase, say, 100 pounds of copper, and it comes out, which in that case could be number two copper, number one copper, or bare bright, which is much more expensive copper. Sometimes it's $4 per pound, or per 2 pounds, and which we pay them $4 a pound, but we weigh it in 2 pounds. So if a customer brings that much items in 100 pounds, and say that we pay them the highest cost, but it come to find out it's actually not copper, it's steel, just coated with a copper look, kind of like fake gold. It's not real gold. So what you see me do right there is I gave him all of that back, because we found a lot in there that was not actually copper. So this is something that I just completely rejected. I refuse to accept the customer's uh, goods, and refuse to service him, because he didn't have genuine items. They were fake. So like, sometimes, and most of the time, these customers are scamming. Sometimes they're not. They'll repeat if they've been in it for any amount of time. You would know it's not real.
You'll go right to it.
Unfortunately, you're not able to hear me, the dialogue, because of the machines that's running. We got so many machines running in there, so it's difficult to hear me talk about the situation. A lot of machines running, guys, that are processing, further processing. Because once we receive those items and verify them, and we put them in their proper locations, then we'll have to return later on and retrieve those items when we have a client or a business, or someone that's ready to buy them, say 20, 40,000 pounds worth of it. And that we have to retrieve those items, whether through a machine, like a loader, or uh, a um, whatever machine we use, that we use to grab them and place them down next to a conveyor that we sort out, then further inspecting and processing again, which all that should be done right here at this scale. Everything should be done when we buy it, but unfortunately, that's not the case. So once we get all these items here, so many times these items they get put in the wrong location by people not doing their jobs, incompetent, just not aware, or uh, not inspecting as they should. And a lot of times you can understand it, because some people who work here, they've been here a long time or not, they just really um, are not very educated, or they're just um, they don't really have strong work ethics, or they're just tired of working there, and they don't really get much money. So the base pay for those guys is $14 an hour, and for the type of the intense, or the heavy labor that it is, that's there, uh, it's it's it doesn't amount to the type of heavy lifting and constant labor that you're doing every day. It just does not add up, especially when you're reworking and reprocessing stuff that should have been done right the first time. So, like I said, as you see me doing this as a supervisor, you see me doing these things. Um, it is difficult to get other projects that are part of my responsibilities done, because I'm always helping in some other area that I'm a supervisor in. So sometimes it's just really um, There's too much going on because a lot of the people that are working um, just aren't efficient. They just aren't knowledgeable and efficient at what is needed to be done to get the job done right. They don't ask the right questions, or they think they know. But so, um, yeah, there you go. So everything the customer brings in, their entire order, we have to take those individual orders. There you see that customer might have had some motors, they might have had alternators, they might have had transformers, they may have had. We purchased those items too, or should I say, they purchased those items too. There, the cast, whether it has contamination or not, clean or dirty cast, die cast, such as things as your lamps, uh, some of your vessels or pottery or vials or things like that, lamps and all those sorts of things. Oh, okay, yeah. So it's just a lot there going on, guys. So yeah. So here we see him. He has radiators. They purchase radiators too. You can have doorknobs. Doorknobs have brass and iron with them a lot of times. All your things like that, lock mechanisms, and they purchase doors as well, screen doors, because that's excruciating. A lot of it, but a lot of it's not clean. All sorts of aluminums. So this person can have aluminum radiators here. Uh, he could have radiators with copper in them, which is ACRs. So there's a variety of type of radiators he has here. And the other things he's going to have here, he's going to have batteries. They buy batteries. Look like there's motors there, and it looks like there's some casts there as well. Everything that a customer brings in, we have to be able to identify them, verify them, and then one product at a time. We have to, the person who's working at this station, as you see, it's me and another guy at this time. We still have to individually take those items. I have to individually walk those items, whether it's close by, like to my left, immediate left, or further to my right side over here, or if it's 100 feet away or 50 feet away, or you know, we have to individually take those items to their proper place. That's labor. That's every item that every customer brings in with multiple items. As you can see me right there, one by one, I am receiving and staging or placing, storing his items. There he has some aluminum radiator ends, and there is some copper breakage right there. And what that is, that's going to be like your piping, your tubes of copper that are going to be normally like that are connected to your plumbing and your HVACs and water tanks. A lot of those type of things, water lines are going to be copper, but sometimes they'll have that that iron on those, which are those um, not ties, but clamps with screws in them, and that can be iron. Sometimes it'll have a installation over it, such as some foam, or sometimes it could have a foam or some sort of. There's breakage right there. It's just some aluminum with a lot of iron in it. So there you have that. And then the last thing on our cart is a battery. And sometimes people come with carts of batteries, guys. Sometimes they bring it in on pallet as well. So as you can see that one order, you kind of got to get it. You get a timing, you get like an idea of how long it takes to process one small cart like that with very few items. But then you, I mean, that's not the typical there. But this is processing. You're processing about 250 to 300 people per day. Get a 45-minute lunch break without pay. Um, and we were there from 7:30, 7:45, or 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock or 5:30. Depends on how it goes. So here you see another customer here. He has um, multiple buckets there, and each bucket is going to contain an item. He's a regular customer here. He pretty much has his stuff sorted properly. We try to have customers and educate them to sort those items because the more the customer is educated to sort the items, the more the customer can sort the items properly, the better we're able to put it in its proper place easier rather than purchasing a bucket that has multiple of items in that we later have to resort again and waste time again. So there we see the first thing he has is a heavy breakage there, sort of like a motor or something. So one by one, we take those items there and we put those items away, in a particular area or in another area. You know, you're constantly lifting those items one at a time. Now, and as I was saying, sometimes you get items that, you know, like those wires that, you know, the guy brought in that was fake. You get a lot of those type of wires. You get a lot of those things like gutters and painted sidings and things like that. And those things really can cut into your skin while you're trying to grab them and get, you know, in a bundle and things like that. Those things like those radiators, like you see them grabbing those radiators, they easily cut your arm when you don't have long sleeves on, and even when you do. But they're cut into your skin constantly because you're grabbing those items and they're metal. You know, they're metal spikes on the end of them. They're radiators for your air conditioning units or for whatever you know units you might use them for. There you see he's coming to help and he's grabbing things. One of the things he would do is a lot of times he's not accustomed to checking the items. As you can see, the person who's actually putting those every items and their weights in the system. Because how this happens is the customer comes on the scale. We know the weight of a cart, the cart that the items are on. We have a weight. We know the weight of each bucket. Each bucket weighs about 2 pounds. The cart weighs about 156 pounds. Some buckets are heavier, depending on what they are, and then some people have barrels that they bring in. But we know the weight. So what we do is he comes on the scale with a certain gross or max weight. As we take an item off, with or without a bucket, we deduct that weight with that item. There you can see me grabbing another item off of there. We deduct that weight and that item off of what the customer had, and now he has a new weight, minus the things we took off and that we already have uh, purchased and put away. And so now he has more stuff, and you see he has one. Um, Now we're taking those items. What I do, I'll take the carts. I'll take when customers come in with buckets. I'll take those buckets off because it's just dead weight, basically. You know, stuff we ain't got to fool with. Take it, move it to the side, give it back to the customer, and that way we can have the item on there just that we need, rather than having to weigh additional things. Because a lot of times uh, that is an extra step for the person who's plugging those numbers in, because now he has to uh, take away those two buckets, which is additional 4 pounds, and then he has to subtract those 2 pounds, and then he has to add in the remainder weight. For instance, if a customer has a bucket of something that is 8 pounds and he has one bucket, well, that's going to be 8 pounds, but it's minus 2 pounds for the bucket. So he has to put in there 8 pounds, and then he has to deduct another 2 pounds and plug that into the proper slot in the number on the computer. But that's another step. But if I remove that bucket and give it back to the customer, just have the weight of the item there, it's a step less he has to take. So there you see it there, guys. It's been 41 minutes, so we're close to being done, guys. Almost done. We don't have a whole lot left. So we got like an hour left, I'm guessing. And these guys work every day. They're at it every day, sun up to sundown, uh, Monday through Saturday, guys. These guys are laboring. Here's a guy that comes in every day with his family, with his son. Great guy. The guy at the scale, he's always kind enough to give the children that come in candy. We'll have one of the workers or a few of them that'll give out cold icicle pops to the customers. They love that. Makes their day a little better when they're waiting out in that line for like an hour or so. So there you see me and another guy. Now, typically what you need to have there is three really good workers there because there's so many things to grab. Let's take a look at some of the stuff he has on that scale there. In that bucket there. He's gonna check that to see if it's brass or if it's stainless steel or if it's aluminum or if it's cast or if it's die cast or to get it all in the same bucket. And it's time consuming when the customer does not put the correct items in the right buckets. So now we got to verify all these little bitty pieces that they have in these buckets. They could have in there anything from, uh, I'm talking about screws, locks, bolts, uh, back plates. I'm talking about doorknobs, any source. I'm talking about just a bucket full of items that you gotta check, and that's time consuming if you want to do it thorough. And sometimes you just buy it all. You can try to buy it all as just when it's mixed like that. You can try to buy it as just a certain thing, such as brass with contaminants. But a lot of times, is because the customer should, if it's brass, it should be brass, and we shouldn't have to go through that because this makes our job even more difficult. And it makes it even worse when we're trying to get ready to process and ship those items to the buyer uh, from us, the buyer who buys from us. So, it's this job here is a dog chasing its tail because the simple reason that, for the simple reason that we're constantly separated right here as we buy it. And then once it gets staged and put in its proper place, put in its correct bins and locations, then in those locations, it's like it's all mixed together again. Things get put in there that don't go in there. And now when it's time to process it and get that item correct to ship out, we're having to sort again those all that and that's 15, 30, 40,000 pounds of items that we're of material that we're trying to sort, a little bit at a time next to the machine that we dump it at next to a machine where we sort again and we pick through it and weed through it to find the items that don't belong in there. Just because it was not done correctly either here where we purchased it or when it was placed or dumped in its location. And that just makes more intense labor. More intense labor. Now, the job you see me doing right here is not as intense as working at the machine, which is the baler, which has a conveyor belt that we put the metals and the product onto that belt, and it goes down and it gets crushed into a cube, which is baled uh, for uh, the customer to get shipped out, whether exported or local or here. Uh, China is one place that these things get exported to. We also ship state to state. I mean, you ship all. I mean, these metals go everywhere to mills and other recycling places. Just never ceases. So as you can see, this guy with his son's been there for a minute, and then actually, like I said, it takes multiple people working just in this spot right here, just to try to get an efficient job done, to process these long lines of customers working every day and every night to bring in their materials. So another customer looks like they have some insulated wire, some sort of copper wiring. These are uh, wires that have um, these are wires that have copper on the inside. You could have electrical, electronic wires. Wires that come from electronics, wires that go to some form of communication wires that are for, say, harnesses, or wires that are for phone lines. There's a multitude of wires, uh, insulated wires, all different gauges, all different types of percentage of, you know, the coating and the covering versus the actual copper that's on the inside. And then you have to be careful because some of those wires that we see right there may have iron on the inside and not copper. Uh, so as you can see me, I'm cutting that wire there. I'm looking for, what I'm doing is I'm trying to inspect it to see what grade it is, so we can pay that person according to how much copper is on the inside versus how much rubber and coating and insulation is on the outside. So that's what I'm doing right there. I'm just trying to see what sorts of things are inside that uh, cart there. I mean, inside that coating there. And as you can see, one of the workers helping me out there. Another one. Like I said, you need about 3 people there to really get that done. Here's another person that looked like it has some extrusion of different grades, and I'm expecting it. We have to do this. Who's ever there has to do this with every customer's order of all these different types of materials. And this is all day, guys. This is what you do all day. You're manually handling sharp items, hazardous items, uh, from these guys who are out here working. And a lot of times, some of these customers are not getting these items legitimate. As you see, I'm working up a sweat. As you see, I am sweated because I have been running around taking this stuff all day. So my shirt was literally soaked. There's many days I am very soaked. When I got off work at this job, I was literally wore out. I was very tired. Now, I could be a supervisor. I could have been a supervisor that didn't like the work. I could have just simply been like, hey, I'm going to let these guys do this, and I'm going to walk around and inspecting things and organizing things and trying to do the minimum amount of work as possible. But that's just not my style. It's not how I do it. I wanted to set an example. I to um, to set precedent, to set precedents, and to kind of like, get the place organized. But like I said, it's a dog chasing his tail. Once we get through here, I mean, I can't stand there all day because I have to be at other places in the facility working as well. And so normally when you see me there, we're kind of short-handed for whatever reason. Uh, it would reach points where we're hiring someone and they don't last because the pay isn't great. It's a lot of people who don't want to do what you see me doing for $14 an hour. But my pay was 25.50 an hour. I started out at 22.50 an hour before I got hired on, uh, and proved myself in that supervisor position through a temp agency. And I debated with them for the pay. We negotiated. They wanted to give me $1, which would have made it 23.50 an hour, which I just couldn't see myself doing that. And I consulted with the owner. He was gracious enough to hear me out, and he did give me a little bit of boost to 25.50. But that still is not enough money for me to pay my bills and thrive, and that still wasn't enough money for me to get further ahead in life. It just doesn't do it. So what you see us again doing, you see us checking. The guy said that's the same guy you saw me last time. We checked his copper and found a lot of it wasn't copper. So now we're showing him again some of the pieces are not, he still hasn't searched it thorough enough. So I think what we're going to do is probably, we can't sit there and sort it for everybody and do the labor for them. Our job is to make sure we're buying what we're buying, and our job is to buy what the customer has and not waste time trying to figure out what he has and do the work for him. He's the one going to get that money. We're not sharing that money. We're the ones paying him. His job to sort. It's his job to sort. So uh, so we'll come up with more pieces, and if it's good, it's good. If not, then we'll give it back to him. A lot of times, if I find a couple of pieces that are not authentic, they're not what they're supposed to be, then I'm just gonna give it back to the customer and tell him to do it again. And that actually happens to be the reason why I left the company. We had we had a customer who was bringing in gutters for housing. Painted siding is what we call them. And after I found four painted siding gutters his truck, he had a Ford F-150 or something like that, whatever truck he had. It was loaded on the back of his truck with that, and I rejected him. He's a routine, regular customer. He's a faithful customer. He was coming 2 to 3 times a week, maybe four, but at least 2 to 3, I guess. And so he should have known better. Now, the reason why I rejected him because if we let that customer, now when they bring his trucks in like that, he goes on another scale. He doesn't come through this side. They can, but a lot of times they don't. They're allowed to go through another scale. Her entire truck with the product on it gets weighed. The customer goes around. He unloads with a supervisor or some type of supervision there. He unloads, it gets inspected, and he unloads, and he drives back around with his new weight, his truck minus the load on it, and that's what he gets paid for that material. And so what would happen was the customer came around, and I checked his materials, which were supposed to be gutters, which are aluminum, and not have metals and iron and plastic on the gutters. And I found four pieces that were completely iron. I rejected. I told him to go ahead and leave, go sort it, go take care of that, and then come back. He was offended by that, and I guess he said he'd never come back. I did not care. I could care less. Uh, the manager is always saying we want high value customers. We want to take value in our customers. We want to have, you know, well, the his state of mind as a regular customer that's been coming in for quite a while. He should have known what he was bringing. He's very knowledgeable. He does it all every time, but he could care less. And I guess his thoughts was, why not? Why should he get paid for bringing in iron? Bringing in heavy iron. Iron is heavier than aluminum. He's bringing in these heavy iron gutters and getting paid or 3 cents, 6 cents per pound for iron, but we pay about 76 cents for aluminum gutters that are aluminum. So if he's aluminum gutters and he's getting much paid, he's getting a much better deal. But that makes our job, our labor, much more harder because when it's time for us to go to that pile and that big bin outside pile of aluminum gutters to start processing them at the baler, uh, we have to sort that stuff. We have to Just like you see now, we have to pick that stuff out of there and put it on the belt and on the belt. Well, that's more labor for us. So what we want is bins. What's ideal is to have bins that are they're clean, 90 something percent clean. If we could get the bins with the percentage of cleanness that we want it to go out and out as, then that's the process of baling it at the machine on the belt and having that the hydraulic, iron, steel, metal blocks, squeeze it and compress it into a square. Our job is much more easier. So that was my last day after that when I figured like, ah, no, I'm just not gonna, this place is just labor intense, and I'm not going to, you know, we have to have the customers get it right, and that's where my stance was. It's got to be right. I reached a point where I was like, the customers got to have it right. We got to have it right at the scale. We got to have it right when we're buying it, because if we don't, then our job, after the customer's gone, that customer leaves us with a problem that we have to fix. And the job is hard enough as it is, and it pays little. It pays too little as it is. So why make the employee's job harder when we can simply eliminate customers who don't want to comply, who are doing underhanded stuff, who are doing fraudulent stuff, or who are doing things that they know they shouldn't be doing. Like you see the guy who's bringing the copper in. He knows that's not copper. Uh, the guy that's bringing the gutters in, they know those are not aluminum gutters. They're iron. So, it's just a lot of fraudulent things going on. And some of these people to get these wired uh, copper, they're tearing down phone poles, AT&T phone poles, Evergy wires. Not necessarily here. We don't accept certain things. We try not to. And sometimes those things slip in because they go in unexpected accidentally. Or who knows, maybe somebody who's buying them is doing their friend a favor, knowing that this stuff was stolen. I don't know. But we try not to. We try to keep a close eye. That's what the supervisor's for, or, a manager's for, to make sure that we're purchasing the right stuff, and that the customers are legit, and that those items are going in the right spot. Everything we do is to make sure that the business excels, and it grows, and it stays within the policies and the regulations and the rules of the state. So we have about 35 minutes left or so in this video. Let's get up out of here, guys. But the purpose of the video is just to, and I didn't intend to do the video. This is just my personal video of where I work and things like that. It's actually to show my wife. But, you know, the job had its good and bad, its ups and downs. Um, but when you have a job that just has so much labor, and you can't get all the crew members on the same page and on one page, when you can't get the workers on the eye to eye, the same level, if you can't get everybody, if you can't get all the workers in compliance with our standard, and what is this material and that material, then it just doesn't work. So uh, I don't mind working, but I just refuse to work when there's so many things working against what I'm trying to accomplish. it's bad on me as a supervisor when we can't when you got employees that just can't comprehend. They're just not they're not educated, or they're just not competent enough, or uh, they can't grasp the materials or what their actual job duties are. And these are customers, yeah, the owner, the manager, they know there's certain employees that should be fired, but they're employees that are willing to work for $14 an hour. So you get what you can get. So here's a customer right here, as you guys can see. They have a high grade, uh, uh, which is called Bear Bright. It's copper that has been uh, it's been the customer himself has removed the the coating, the, the installation from the copper, and what you have left is just pure copper wires, and he gets a high amount of dollars for that. I would say something like that, depending on what it weighs. He could be leaving with up $400 or $500 just for that right there, or more, depending on how much it actually weighs. If because it's four dollars a pound or so. So that could be a lot of money. So I guess we're at a total of literally quite a bit of time left. It's a good video though. Um, a lot of the what I've learned is a depressing thing. A lot of the people who are scrapping and finding and resourcing and searching for all these different parts and materials and metals, a lot of them are drug users. They have drug habits, or they're just dishonest. Uh, but and that's the majority of them. I would say the majority of them. But and that's a sad state. It's a sad state. Yeah, a lot of them are thieves too. I mean, but it's not necessarily our job to question everybody who comes through that, but we do have to ask um, certain items that are rare. You know, items that they're not. You know, it's not. It's 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 not likely that the company would give them those items. Like, let's say if you live in certain items that are city items, like meters that go on houses or businesses, those are made up of brass and sometimes brass and iron. Uh, but the city, the state, does not allow um, everyday people to just take those items when they're replaced or taken off of one house or building or commercial building or from one place and just give them to uh, people, random people. Things like sewer tops and light poles. When we see some people come through with certain items, we require a letter from them, from the city or somebody, that they can have the items. There you see another person has some Bear Bright. That's good money for that customer there. It's hard to tell where people are getting these items from. As I would say, they're scoring licks. They're you know, hitting well. Hitting oil out of a well. There's another person who looks like he has. Can't really tell exactly what he has, but this guy's walking all over the place. I'll probably tell him to go back over there as I normally do. I don't have customers. Just let them roam all through the building where they want to go. I'll tell them to go back over there. on that side at the scale next to the scale that that cart is on sitting on top of. That cart is sitting on top of a scale. Okay, guys. So we have my baby's ready to go. We're over my niece's house. Her birthday there. My niece and nephew are celebrating, and I was going to show them this video. The purpose was to actually show them this video of what we do because he wanted to know where I was working at, and I couldn't get it to cast to his television because something with the remote, and so I tried to do a live stream on YouTube to simply cast it on there so they can see it rather than looking at my phone. So yeah, this is where I was working at. Uh, you know, approximately 50, about 50 hours a week, unless I scheduled overtime or something. So, and it just wasn't worth the pay, guys. It just when every day you got to go to work and you worry about how much work there is to do. Like there's some days you can say I'm gonna take it easy today, but those unfortunately you don't get to choose those days. And then with so much needing to be arranged and organized, and so much work that is already on my planner, my schedule to get done, it's difficult to think about relaxing at work. You know? So, so I'm gonna set this down for a second, guys, and let it kind of roll a little bit, and then I'll be back in a second. Check on my baby. Uh, right back.
That's the family that was staying in the house before. You remember it?
Mike, is that your sister? I ain't met her ever.
I met mom. It looked like it. I thought it was too. Oh, garlic bread. Is this? Oh, okay. Yeah. Look, mine called me. No, you don't. Oh, okay, good. Yeah. You got lemonade? Yeah, I was in here. I had to. They didn't have anything sold out of it. No, I feel this. Oh, okay. Oh, my God. Tiffany. Imagine about the hill. This is a real life story. This man bought that house, just tear it down. This man bought that house, just tear it down. We've been following that for years. I'm surprised somebody made a movie out of it. Now, I'm not saying what's happening now. Yeah, that's in Hollywood. This didn't happen less than 10 years ago. They said that movie a Jesus was a porthole hell or something.
What? You said portal to hell to heaven? Hell? Portal to hell?
Who makes spaghetti? Who made spaghetti? I want to know who made spaghetti. Mike? I know everybody gonna make spaghetti on her birthday. Everything's her birthday. She's her birthday. Who birthday is that? My big birthday. He's up there. He's up there. Bread. You want orange or red? I mean, not red. 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 Red wine. Tasha. Tasha. Who bless you with you dual air fryer? Yeah, I don't need to kill everything on it. You're welcome. I'm for a little light thing. And y'all have all that stuff. What are you gonna do with all that stuff y'all have? Two warehouses worth of stuff. Y'all have. I had 2 warehouses worth of stuff. What's conversation? 6 months down, I feel. We gave us the last ultimatum after the year. Can I talk about you coming home from y'all leave and stuff? They on the couch. When you get ready to we got straight. Oh, okay. They took their own story, but you ain't done. So you don't own that, right? So that's why you say you got a great fish. Give you the what? The knife with the what?
Oh, well, now we talking about come over there and get the stuff, and then I'll come in a day or
Yeah,
two.
definitely. I'm
No.
coming. Yeah, cause you live right up the street.
No,
So
I don't live up the street.
okay,
I
we're
don't
gonna
live up the
find
street
out.
like
Ain't
I
we? We're
used
gonna
to.
find out.
No. How
Yeah.
about, it's my birthday. Bring it to
Your
me.
birthday was offered to you. So
No, but you actually bring it to me for your birthday on your way out
first of all, I'm
to.
giving them to you, and we supposed to keep them because we got them out in our front yard to put them out there.
Okay.
So
No,
I'm
all
giving them
I'm
to you because I didn't even know I
saying,
had them.
why, because they've been, how long I've been
No, I
asking
got
for
rid of
them.
that whole other load, and we just
No,
happened
how
to
long I've been asking for
like a
them.
year, right? But we didn't
Huh?
have none. I didn't think I had any.
So
All right,
that's
guys,
why,
welcome
that's
back to
more
the
the
channel.
reason. I'm gonna take my niece's phone, because I
Yeah.
got
And how about my niece? Then my uncle offered me some. Let me go get them.
that too. You want some stuff?
No, to be honest with you, you go come on out and get
No.
them. Right. There we have another customer there, guys. As you see, he has a gigantic barrel
Okay, see
there.
what else I want to get.
Pretty much all we got. We on the
Ain't nothing else?
we on the struggling. Yeah, especially when I just left this job here. Yeah. So as you can see, guys, we have the he has a customer what has a also a big barrel there. I can't remember what was in there, but I'm sure we'll get to that. It could be something light and heavy. I don't know. Just have to see. But this place is understaffed because like any other business, they want to save on labor. Which, when you're saving on labor, you're adding extra work to the employees that are there. I hired several employees there. I hired a total of, I was there going on my seventh month. I hired, altogether, I hired about one, two, three, four, five. I hired five people while I was there, and one of them I hired, or I referred that other person to the other supervisor so that he could have that person in his department because there's two halves of this particular company. There is the iron, the ferrous side, and then there is the non-magnetic, which we call the non-ferrous side, non-steel. And so, but out of the, I've interviewed about, interviewed quite a few people. Some people hear the pay grade or the pay rate that they're going to start out with for this type of job. And this is in the elements, guys. Even though it seems like we're in a warehouse, we have a total of one, two, three, four, five garages that are open. They're big enough for forklifts and machines to get in and out, trucks and all that sort of things. So even though you're in a warehouse, when it's hot, it's very hot in there. When it's cold, it's very cold in there because it's still wide open. So you're not necessarily just under a dome in a sense or something like that, but you are still in the elements. And in the wintertime, it's very cold, and in the summertime, it's hot in there, guys. And when it's humid, it's extremely humid in there. And so, like I said, it's not enough employees. Like I said, I've interviewed quite a few, and I've hired out of the, I'm thinking one guy quit after a couple of hours. He said he was in over his head. It was not the job for him. He was not into lifting stuff all day. So after a couple of hours, he left. Uh, Another employee we hired, just a customer who came through the line there, asked for a job. We gave him opportunity. He was a drug user and just paranoid all the time. So he got into a conversation with another worker, or all the workers, should I say, and we had to fire him. Another employee we hired, excellent machine operator, very good worker. He knew the materials. He also has come through the line a few times, not many. But after about a month, he refused to do that kind of. He just refused to work for that kind of pay. Another employee I hired, younger person, he stayed for about maybe 3 weeks or a month, and he's gone. He just wasn't going to do that kind of work. He was young. He was in his early mid 20s. Another worker we hired didn't show up for work. Another worker we hired um, didn't come to work on their scheduled start date, and they just didn't like the pay that we were giving them. It just some people just a person will tell you yes at an interview that they're going to come and they would like the opportunity, but when it's time to take that job on a certain day, you're going to be like I'm worth more. I'm going to look at my options more. I'm not going to take that job unless you just don't have another job at the time. Like for me, when I took this particular job, I already had two jobs. I was working as a security officer, and I was working also in a warehouse as a quality inspector. And uh, so I had two jobs when I took this particular job, but one was full time, one was part time, and the director at the other job where I worked as a security officer, he was very gracious enough to let me fill in when I could. So I was filling in with him 3 times a week, and that's simple work. It's just you're just basically being eyes and ears for the campus. So I had two jobs, but the other one it was only 4 days a week, 10-hour shifts, and so I had plenty of time to work the other days and still do my store just a touch, my own store. Uh, but I took this particular job for a career opportunity. I was hopeful. Um, I wanted to make it out of career. I didn't want to get stuck in a situation where I was with, my own business that I had for many, many years, me and my fiance. I didn't want to get, if things happened, I didn't want to have a stable environment. I didn't want to lack the resources or the support that I needed in case something happened to my business again, which kind of leaves us in a lot of debt. So I wanted to avoid that going forward, but so I took the job for an opportunity. Like I said, you see, I started out with what I started out with through a temp service, which I've never worked in my adult life, or I've well, I wouldn't say my adult life, but uh, I hardly ever have worked for a temp service, guys. And I've never worked for career opportunity, but through a temp service in any leadership position at all ever. So this was the first time for that, and I was started off with a minimum, around the minimum. Uh, the owner actually, it was a pay range from starting at 20 to 25, or it can go up based off your experience or whatever. But it was really 20 to 25, and so I I particularly was willing to start off there because I knew very little about all the different variety and um, types of metals. That was beyond my understanding, so I had to apply myself and learn a lot through materials given to me through self-study, self-helps, YouTube, reading, just applying myself, and then everyday experience there, grasping it, learning it, asking questions. Had a, the manager there was extremely knowledgeable. Uh, but a lot of it, yeah, I can't question this. Now he's very good at what he does on every level, if you ask me. Uh, but hey, so I was optimistic and hopeful after I applied myself for the first 90 days. I had to work 600 hours through the through the to the temporary service in order to get hired on. And after 600 hours, which I ended up working about 700, I worked 140 hours more before they actually realized, hey, these 600 hours has passed. So I missed, instead of having 600 hours, I had like 740 something, 47 hours before I got hired on, before someone actually took note and was like, okay, he's already past that. So the owner wanted to hire me, and he wanted to give me a $1 raise. And I had to even ask, was I getting a raise, and was it salary or hourly? And to me, guys, to go from 20, he wanted to start me off at $21 an hour, and I negotiated with the temp service, and they spoke to the owner, and I said 22.50. You can meet me in the middle, and so we agreed there. So when I actually got hired on, he off, and he told me, yes, I'll get a $1 raise. Okay, I've been there 700 something hours as a supervisor. I've shown you I'm able to learn this, grasp the materials. I've come from a supervisor, management, general manager, store manager, team lead. I mean, I've done it all. Owned my own business as well for many, many years. Very successful. Made a lot, Had some bad times too, but here you want to offer me $21 an hour? And I was like, man. So that didn't sit well with me, especially because the owner was paying the temp agency when I was hired through them. He was paying them for me and another employee. He said he was paying $4,000 a week for me and another employee that he had that worked in the office with his sister. He said that he was paying $4,000 a month, a week, guys, $4,000 a week for that person and me. And I was like, really, a week? I'm like, he's like, yes. And I'm like, that's unbelievable. Either he's lying, which why would you be paying a temporary service? Why would you be paying a temp agency, a workforce center, and a company that helps find you a company that helps find you qualified employees for certain positions? Why would you? And it was only they only use it for leadership positions, positions that paid well above, either from 15 to $19 an hour, 15 to 20, or 20 to 25, or 25 to 30, whatever, Another one of the workers there. So this is around, once you see a lot of guys standing around the scale there where you saw me at, then you know it's kind of like it's reaching the end of the day, because we're done bailing, we're done in certain other areas, and everybody's just kind of gathering around to help out. And as you can see me, I'm just in the midst, I'm in the mix, I'm in the action, I'm just working, guys, because that's what I did every day. But my first concern, my is willing to talk, is willing to pay a agency that they acquired to find the right candidates for the position, the supervisor position. If you're paying them $2,000 a week for me and another employee to retain us, once you've hired me, or the other employee too, but once you've hired me particularly, why wouldn't you pass some of that revenue on to me? Why deny the employee some of that revenue? So I was thinking and hopeful I was going to ask for 30 an hour, which I thought for that position, I thought that was very fair. My minimum I was going to willing to look into was really 26, but I knew that was low for the kind of work. But I was willing to go ahead and start at 26 an hour being hired on, just for the hopes of going, the next 6 months or the next year. How much more can I make there? How can I grow in the company? How can I earn more? How can I make a life living out of it? And yeah, the owner wanted to pay me $1 a raise more, guys, after I got hired. And and I talked with him. Like I said, I came back in the next day. There you see guys, the full crew there. Uh, on that side, we have about two, four, six. We have about 8 employees on this side here, and two work outside. But two of them work outside in the shipping and receiving, um, and occasionally come in and help. Um, but you see a lot of people here. But at some points of the day, we may have to. I may have to assign other employees who normally will work over here, who are assigned over here. I may have to reassign them to fill other areas that are uh, not filled. That either other people are on vacation, or they didn't come in, or someone's missing, or something's happened. So you have to fill those positions for them over there. So that was my one of the problems I had with the company, with the owner, because to me the owner was like, okay, you're willing to pay a another company 1,000 or 1,500 or $2,000 a week to to so that I can be on your payroll through them, and you don't have to offer me insurance and benefits and none of that, because I'm with that company. I'm hired on through that company, so I'm really that company's responsibility. But that company is offering me insurance and benefits and things like that. But you're not passing me any of that money when you hire me on. I don't think that's right, guys. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's I don't think that's right. But for the sake of hope, I accepted 25.50. Like I said, he wanted to give me 23.50, and I came back the next day and I let him know. I reached back out to a few employers that I was recently in contact with, and I let him know that I have to have enough money to make a living to sustain me and my family. Uh, I want the business to thrive, but I need to thrive too. I can't be just like the rest of the employees here that just sorry about that, guys. I can't be like most of the employees here that all those guys you see there, guys, are making various amounts of money, but the base pay is 14. Um, so there you have it. So I think we're just about done with this. We only have 3 minutes left, guys. One of the guys just went by that I hired. He is a really hard worker. I heard that he is not going to, from another person, I heard he's not going to stick around. He's looking to open his own business up. That guy you see standing right there, uh, he's a real cool dude. He's a real nice guy. Everybody you see that you've seen so far, all the guys, the males that you've seen probably in this video. I don't know exactly all of them because I was stepped away a little bit. This is my first time actually looking at this video, guys. I just kind of like push record and got to work like I normally do. It's a normal day for me. It's a normal day. Only thing I was concerned about is hopefully somebody didn't bump up against the the whatever I set this phone on. There's another worker going by. But I was just hoping someone didn't bump up against the, the unit, with the air conditioner unit, or water sprinkler unit, or some type of cooling conditioner unit that I set the phone on to record. I was just hoping somebody didn't bump up against it and cause the phone to fall and mess up a good video. And you don't see everything. You don't get to see everything in the video. Heavy metals, guys. You grab a bundle of those in your hand, you cut yourself because there's, like I said, there's sharp items. You're constantly getting cut. Your clothes, as you can see, my clothes, those are punctures and tears from grabbing stuff, and when you're walking over stuff that you're trying to sort through when it's on the ground, when you're baling it, it pierces through the pants. You know, uh, uniform there, hats, safety PPE, glasses, safety glasses, safety helmet, reflector. Uh, they would supply you jeans, and they supply you boots. Managers or supervisors, we do get our boots for free. Whether other employees or get a voucher for the boots, but they have to have their checks deducted every week, a small percentage, until that payment for those boots was paid off. But me, I never got any clothes. I never got any clothes from them. I had to use my own clothes. Those jeans you see me wearing, they're thermal jeans, so they have a really good installation on the inside. They're winter for winter and for harsh units. So, uh, but you walk. I wish I could have made another video showing the other process of belling it, so you guys can see us working there too. But like I said, the purpose wasn't really to make videos of the place, just to show the place. It was kind of like to show what I do there. It's actually to show my fiance is what it was intended for, but uh, it just turned into this. So I think we are at the end, guys, and another great video. It's not a lot, but you see guys bringing all their stuff in, and it's just too much work, guys. So just too much work. You see another guy just went by. He was one of the other workers. He's very knowledgeable. Can't really see him because yeah. So that's the end of the day, guys. Yeah, that's the end of the day there. Everybody's going home. That's the end of the day. You see people saying bye. That was it. There's me grabbing the phone, and it's time to go. That's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Appreciate you guys. I'm out of here. Let's go ahead and stop this. Oh.